Hello you guys, what is up? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Samantha and I am the Gem Priestess. I'm an energy healer who works with women every single day to help them get back onto the path of being healthy, of being healed. I work with women specifically with their, kind of physical problems that are going on in their lives, not being able to sleep, back pain, headaches, anxiety, your car constantly breaking down on the freeway. These are all things that I personally have gone through and have really found that there is more than just, oh my God, I have a bad car, I threw my back out, I slept upside down, or whatever it may be. All of those things do have more meaning than just kind of the simple things that we may have been taught before. And so I work with women every single day to help them figure out what it is for themselves and help relieve themselves of that pain. So if you are a little bit interested in that, down in the description box will be a link to my website. You guys can click that, check that out. You guys can see kind of how I got started into this, kind of what this all entails, and sign up for an energy healing session of your own. But for today's video, I definitely wanted to talk about something that I came across while I was reading in the past week or two. I've been reading lots of books on energy healing, personal development, stuff like that. And something for me, a big thing for me, and what has stopped me a lot in my life has been fear. I am afraid to go out and do something. I am afraid to be seen. I am afraid of what the outcomes will be. I'm afraid that I will not be good enough for this thing. It's that fear that, stops me from going and doing the thing and doing what I want to do and, expressing myself in that way. So I definitely wanted to come on here and talk about fear, talk about kind of what I read, kind of what my experience was with that, especially because I see that, like I said, with me, it's a really big prevalent thing, but I think that that's something that, kind of we all really relate to, and is something that I've seen in my clients and in my friends, especially lately, talking about this fear of wanting to do better and be better and all of that stuff. So I think that fear is definitely something that we should be talking about, and that maybe we shouldn't really be afraid of fear, what fear really is and how it is ultimately there to help us and not hurt us, even though it feels like it's hurting us in the end. Yeah, let's just get into today's video where we will be talking about fear. All right, so kind of to start, kind of a little backstory into this. I have been reading a lot. If you guys have checked out kind of my spiritual personal development books, you guys know I've read a pretty good chunk of books, pertaining to spirituality, personal development. And that list is ever growing. And so lately I have been reading emotion and healing in the energy body. If I keep looking down, you guys, I have my laptop here because I have just kind of this blurb on here from the book. So if I'm looking down, I'm so sorry. It really is just my laptop out here. But anyway, like I said, I've been reading this book, and in which the author, and I will tag this book down below in the description box too, so don't worry about that. But in this book, the author goes through, the different chakras, different emotions, how they pertain to the chakras, and kind of what these emotions do. And there is a chunk, a section of the book in which the author is talking about fear, and how if his fear, he realized that he could have this conversation with his fear and really figure out kind of what that disconnect and what that, where kind of fear and, kind of himself, his soul, his heart are really kind of missing the mark with each other. And so he was really talking about how that worked for him, and I was like, that's really interesting. I never thought to have a conversation with myself, with my fear, let's sit him in a room and just figure out what's going on. And from reading this book and reading what it is that he has to say, he was definitely talking about that fear is not the bad guy. fear this whole time has been trying to, protect you ultimately from what fear thinks is bad, from what fear thinks is going to be the bad guy for you, is going to ultimately hurt you. And so fear at the end of the day is just trying to protect you. It's very much that, back from that like hunter-gatherer like mindset, where very much, obviously you want to have fear when you are standing at the edge of a cliff, because if you didn't, you would just keep walking and then splat and it's over. You want to have that fear that's gonna be like, hey, maybe we should take a couple of steps back, my guy, my friend, like, let's see what's going on, let's take a couple steps back, let's reevaluate everything. So fear is not necessarily a bad thing. Fear is, kind of that, it gives us those boundaries. It's really like, hey, we're kind of encroaching on something a little weird here, let's figure this out. And so definitely not a bad thing, right? But with fear, it doesn't really fully know all of what is bad and all of what is good for you. So when you are going to try something new, fear is going to be like, hey, we don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. That's kind of weird. That's kind of weird. I don't really like that. I don't know how this is going to end. So I'm going to make you afraid so that you stop doing the thing and we can go back to where I know we're safe, which is laying in bed, binge watching Netflix. I know we're safe there. Nothing's going to happen to us there. But if you're going to go out and you are going to try to date somebody new, you're going to try to get a new car, a new job, be seen in a way that you would never be seen and recognized before, I don't know what happens there. And I don't know how to really make that work. So I'm going to say, let's just hop back into bed and we'll be cool and we'll be safe. And, really stepping back and viewing fear in that way, I was able to sit and think and be like, wow, I always thought that my fear was the bad guy. I always thought that my fear was something that was just like trying to like beat me up in the corner. But really my fear was ultimately trying to protect me. My fear put me in the corner because it knew that the corner was safe, not because it was just, it was a cool Tuesday and it didn't want to, it just didn't want to work today, or it wanted to work extra hard today, make me extra afraid of things. And so ultimately, I myself ended up having this conversation with my fear where I was, I ultimately apologized. I am the conscious one here between me and my fear. I'm the conscious one. My fear lives inside me. So I was like, hey, I'm actually really sorry that I never understood you for what you were, that I never understood what you were trying to tell me and what you were trying to keep me from. I just thought that you were being nuts. And so when you said, hey, you should be afraid of this, maybe you should be afraid to sneak out of your parents' house when you're 17 at 3 a.m. and go hang out with, some really bad friends. Maybe you should stay home. And I was like, no, you're fine. It's okay. And then I resented my fear because I was like, dang, I should have listened to you when it's 5 a.m. and I'm stranded somewhere because all of those bad friends left me somewhere. I was like, dang, I should have listened to you. And then the next time something new comes around, this new job opportunity comes for me, right? And I'm like, hey, my fear is like, hey, this is something new. This is something weird. Remember what happened last time? And I was like, hey, you know what? You're right, fear. I do remember what happened last time. I do remember being stuck and stranded at 5 a.m. I'm going to listen to you. And then, the next thing it's weeks, months, years later, and you look at someone who filled that position that was being offered to you, and you see what their life is like. And you're like, oh my God, fear, how could you do that? Like, I thought you had my back, and now you don't. And ultimately, for fear, it's the same thing. Going out at 3 a.m. with really bad friends and bad people and having a new job opportunity, those are one and the same. Fear doesn't know that those are different things and that they can have different outcomes. Fear just sees, hey, this is something new. And so I was able to say, I'm so sorry to my fear that I didn't understand you. and that I took you at face value, and then I took it back from you, and then I gave it to you again, and back and forth and back and forth, and we played this whole horrid game for the last 25 years of my life. And so being able to have that conversation with myself, because, you know, the fear is ultimately myself, I was able to sit down and I set the goals and the expectations for myself and for my fear. I was able to say, hey, I want to do X, Y, and Z, right? You know, I want to, let's say, get a new car. I want to move across the country, and, you know, I want to, I don't know, something else. But, you know, whatever. I want to do those two things. And my fear is like, hey, those are really weird new things that I don't know. And so I was able to sit down and say, hey, fear, I get that you don't know what's going to happen from this. I don't know what's going to happen from this. But this is what I want. And so if you sit back on these things, and maybe you're not so loud and so in my face about it, I can then experience this. We can come back and recalibrate. And at that point, then you can listen to me, I can listen to you, and we can have this whole repertoire thing. We can have this relationship where we coexist with each other, where we learn from one another, because ultimately that is what's going to create harmony in your body, is when you are able to see why you are afraid of these things, why you are feeling shame and guilt and fear and confusion and all of these things. When you're able to recognize that and see that, that is the first part of your healing, is understanding that, hey, I have a problem and there's more to it than just, oh, I have a problem, like, it's fine, I'll pop an Advil, I'll like sleep in bed, not a big deal. That's not gonna help you anything. But when you're able to say, hey, fear, guilt, shame, I see you, I understand you, I understand the role that you created for me and the role that you've played in my life, but I am gonna take the reins for a little bit. You've had the reins, now I'm taking control. And, you know, whenever we get to whatever finish line, you know, whenever we meet whatever goal that I'm gonna set, we can talk and we can figure out kind of where our new positions lie with each other, you know. But being able to have that conversation changes so much for you. Really can change and see how you, where areas you need to grow, where areas are that you need to pay attention to a little more, things like that. That is something that is ultimately going to kickstart your healing process and really understand why things have been happening the way that they are. You know, after having that conversation with my fear, I can go back and be like, wow, so that's why I was afraid with this person. That's why I was afraid doing this job and going to this place, and why maybe I told my fear to can it when I was doing this, this, and this. And understanding that creates a stronger relationship and a stronger bond with those emotions in your body. You're able to kind of fill them and have them be whole, so to say, you know, kind of shine light on that darkness and really be able to like, boom, like make something magical happen for yourself, within yourself, and just with those relationships. So that has definitely kind of been what is on my mind lately as of fear. I've definitely been really focused on fear more than, you know, shame and guilt and all of those other emotions. Fear has been my big one lately, but I personally am excited to see kind of where those other emotions are going to take me and what I can discover with those things. So when I do, I will definitely, you know, come up and show you guys, and, you know, hopefully you guys can like learn and see something new and different with these emotions, and that there can be something new other than just like, oh yeah, like whatever, I'm afraid, like I'm feeling guilty, you know, whatever. Everyone does that. Yeah, everyone does feel that way, but not everyone really should, and not, those emotions aren't always going to be helpful in terms of our body, especially when we're not paying attention to those emotions. So that is definitely my little spiel about, you know, kind of fear and, you know, I guess shame and guilt and those other emotions too, but definitely fear, as that's what I've been focusing on personally in the last, like I said, like week or two. and I've definitely seen some good things. And so I am hoping that, you know, if you guys have that conversation with your fear, that you're able to kind of see that. And, you know, if you need guidance with that, that is definitely something that I work with, you know, my clients with, and really helping to understand those emotions and kind of why they're happening, where they started, things like that. So if you are interested in really wanting to understand yourself, your emotions, your body that way, you know, a little bit or a lot of bit more, like I said, down in the description box will be a link to my website where you guys can sign up for your own energy healing sessions with me. And, you know, we definitely can work together to figure out kind of what's going on and ultimately get you feeling good at the end of the day, feeling so much better about yourself. But that is going to be it for today's video. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I enjoyed hanging out with you, and I cannot wait until I see you guys next time. Bye.